St. Patrick's Day is coming, and with that I'm going to bring you an Irish recipe in preparation that you can make for your Irish meal this year. I have shared a few Irish recipes with you on the channel. I've shared with you Halloween barmbrack. I've shared 2 different ways to make soda bread. One was a brown bread, one was a white bread with raisins, and an Irish apple cake, which is a rustic cake made with a warm custard sauce to drizzle on top. And this year I'm going to share with you an Irish porter cake, which is actually quite similar to Irish barmbrack, except instead of soaking the dried fruit in black tea, you're going to be soaking it in porter or stout, which is a type of porter. So join me today as I share with you this traditional Irish porter cake.
First, you're going to measure out 450 grams or 3 cups of mixed dried fruit. I'm using a mix of raisins, currants, cranberries, and golden raisins. Cranberries aren't traditional, so you can leave those out if you'd prefer. Then add the zest of 2 oranges and 50 grams of chopped candied peel. I'm using lemon and orange. Now add the juice of 2 oranges and 350 milliliters or 1.5 cups of Irish porter. My local liquor store had some porters available, but none of them were Irish, and it felt wrong to make an Irish recipe without an Irish beer, so I just chose Guinness, which is a stout. Some beer aficionados say that stout is a type of porter, and others say that it is not, because porter is made with malted barley and stout is made from unmalted roasted barley, but not all craft brewers follow that rule, so for the sake of this recipe, the 2 beers are pretty interchangeable as they're both a dark beer. So now you're going to cover the bowl and let it sit for 30 minutes, and while the fruit is soaking, you can mix together the dry ingredients. You're going to measure out 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 2 teaspoons of mixed spice, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Mixed spice is a spice blend from the British Isles, so in the recipe link below I'll put the ingredients on how to make your own if that's not where you live and you can't buy it at a store. Then you're going to mix those things with 500 grams or 4 cups of all-purpose flour and just give that a whisk until it's all combined. Now take the soaking fruit and add it to a saucepan and bring everything to a boil. And then once it reaches a boil, remove it from the heat and then pour it into a bowl and let it cool to about room temperature before you add it to the rest of the ingredients. Once the fruit has cooled, you can work on finishing the cake. Add 225 grams or 2 sticks of softened unsalted butter to a stand mixer and beat it on medium speed until light and fluffy. Then add in 225 grams or 1 cup of packed light brown sugar and beat that into the butter until it's fully incorporated. Once the sugar and butter are light and fluffy, add in 3 eggs, 1 at a time, mixing well after each addition. While I'm doing this, I'll talk a little bit about this cake. I honestly could find very little info on it in the way of history. It is enjoyed around both Christmas time as well as St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. It must be a relatively new food because porter was not invented until the 18th century in London, and towards the end of the 1700s, what was called stout porter was invented, and that's the Guinness that we're all familiar with today. So with the cake containing both porter beer and a leavening agent like baking powder or baking soda, which wasn't invented until the 19th century, I'd say this cake must be from about the 1800s. But if you know more about its definitive history than I do, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know its true origins. Now you're going to mix in the dry ingredients that we mixed together earlier, and you're going to incorporate this very slowly and in a couple of additions just because otherwise the flour will all fly into the air if you do this all at once. And don't worry if your batter becomes extremely dry and almost hard to work with. Once you add in the soaked fruit with the soaking liquid, it's going to turn this into a cake-like batter. So I'm just transferring this to a glass bowl so you can see what I'm doing. But if you're just making this for yourself and you're not filming, no need to do this. Now you're going to add in that cooled down soaked fruit, and you're going to add in the soaking liquid with it. Don't drain that out. It's a very important addition to the batter. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to add this in, so I'm doing it in a couple of additions. Work in each addition as best as you can, and once that's combined, add in the rest, and eventually the fruit should be pretty evenly distributed and you should have a wet cake batter. If you've enjoyed this video so far and have learned something, I hope you'll hit that like button below. It really helps out the channel. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I make videos like this one where I share a European baked good and its history and the cultures and traditions surrounding it. So if that's something you enjoy, I hope you'll stick around for more videos like this one. Once your cake batter is all set, you're going to pour it into a 9-inch springform cake pan that's lined with parchment on the bottom. And this is a little trick for you for adding that parchment paper. I used to take the time to trace a circle and cut it out and add it to the bottom of my pan, and then I realized what a waste of time that was. Now I just place the parchment paper over the insert, and then I put the ring on top and shut it, and then I rip off the bottom excess, and that's so much faster and easier to make a circle of parchment on the bottom of your springform pan. And then an easy way to butter the pan is to just take the stick of butter and rub it on the sides and the bottom. So those are some tricks for you if you weren't already doing that yourself at home. Once your batter is in the pan, just take your spoon and somewhat evenly spread it out and flatten the top of it. And then you're going to bake it in the oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Celsius for about 50 minutes. And this is such a dark, dense cake that the way you can tell if it's done is by putting a probe thermometer in the middle of the cake. And once it reaches about 85 degrees Celsius or 185 degrees Fahrenheit, then your cake is finished. And if you want to add a little bit of complexity to the flavor of this cake, you can let it sit in an airtight container for a couple of days at room temperature, and that will deepen those spiceful flavors. But if you don't have time for that, that's okay too. You can slice into it right when it has cooled down.
I'm looking forward to trying this and seeing if it's anything like barmbrack, since it's made in such a similar way. It is very similar to barmbrack, but there are some key differences. It is denser. It has more of the texture of, say, an English Christmas cake than a barmbrack, which has a little bit of a lighter texture. You can taste the spices, and it's very obvious that the fruit has been soaked in both beer and orange juice because they have like a plump juiciness to them, so they're not dry at all. This is really good. This would make a great addition to a St. Patrick's Day meal. If you're interested in browsing through the other Irish recipes on this channel, the soda breads, the apple cake, the barmbrack, and then obviously this porter cake, I will put the Irish food playlist at the end of this video so you can look around and see if there are any other recipes you'd like to add to your St. Patrick's Day meal this year. Watch one of those videos next, and I'll see you next time.